those who lived near North Pond, Christopher Knight's actions weren't just unsettling. I mean, they were infuriating. If I lived near North Pond during all of this, I would have been straight up pissed off, to be frank. And so I can understand where both his critics and his supporters are coming from. So let me know what you think. And again, please leave your comments respectful. If you're too colorful in your language, YouTube is just going to automatically ban your comments anyways. And yeah, just let me know what you think about the story of the North Pond Hermit. On a very normal late spring day in 2019, 4 thru-hikers made their way down the Appalachian Trail. Their thoughts were almost certainly filled with the typical things that long-distance hikers think about. I'm talking things like, where's the next water source? Where should we camp tonight? And perhaps most importantly, what should we eat when we reach town and have our next hot meal? Everything about this day checked out. Everything was normal until the group encountered this man right here. Now, these 4 hikers had walked over 500 miles up to this point, and they had most certainly encountered quite a bit of characters, if you know what I mean. However, this particular man was much different than some random, eccentric stranger that they encountered in the woods. This man was dangerous, and by this point in time, he was well known, even infamous, among the Appalachian Trail community. While walking along the trail, this man had exhibited every red flag in the book, and by this point, pretty much every single hiker along the trail had been warned to stay far away from him. The 4 hikers who now stood before this man knew exactly who he was. This disturbed man was known by the trail name Sovereign. But with that said, and unbeknownst to the 4 hikers who were now watching him play his guitar and ramble about, this man was about to become known by a much more sinister name. That name would be the Appalachian Trail Killer. The group left this man behind and they continued down the trail. But this man would soon follow in their footsteps, and then later that night, while the tired hikers hunkered down in their tents, this deranged man, he would strike, and he would send shockwaves that were felt throughout the Appalachian Trail from Georgia all the way up to Maine. This is the story of James Jordan, the Appalachian Trail Killer. So as my regular viewers know at this point, I thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2018. I talk about it all the time. I'm very proud of it. And because of this, I was in a bunch of AT-related Facebook groups that I just never left after my thru-hike. And so the following spring, when the 2019 hikers began making their way north, I vividly remember seeing discussion after discussion about this dangerous hiker who was on the trail. There were tons of reports about him threatening other hikers. I mean, so many people were talking about this. They were posting photos of him, and he was just acting very unstable and very, very sketchy. I remember following all of this stuff. I remember kind of hearing about the story developing in real time. And then one morning, I woke up, I opened Facebook. I still remember this very vividly. I opened Facebook to see tons of posts about how this dangerous man, this dangerous hiker, had finally carried out the ultimate act of violence. It had only been about 7 months since I had finished my thru-hike, not even a full year. And so when this news broke, it just tore my heart apart, honestly. I mean, the Appalachian Trail is a place that had brought me so much joy. It was the inspiration for why I even started this YouTube channel in the first place. And it just broke my heart that this very special place to me was also the same place where such a heinous crime was carried out. I honestly put off covering this particular story for a long time. I mean, I've gotten tons of requests about it, even though I wasn't involved with it, obviously. Just the timing and everything, you know, fresh off my thru-hike, it just made me feel so terrible. And so, yeah, I've put off covering it, but I have a reason for finally telling this story now, which is something I'm going to get into at the very end of the video. So please watch until the end. And also, with that said, please hit the subscribe button, because we're trying to get to 1 million subscribers, and we're getting up there, honestly. Please help us with that. And so, with that said, let me introduce you to a man named Ronald Sanchez Jr. Ronald Sanchez Jr. was a native of Garden Grove, California, and he would go on to honorably serve the United States as an Army combat engineer during the Iraq War. Now, folks, from what I've gathered, he was in it when it comes to the war. I mean, he saw friends in his unit die. He himself suffered physical injuries. And again, from what I've gathered, those injuries paled in comparison to the mental injuries that he suffered upon his return home to the United States. What I'm talking about, of course, as you probably predicted, is PTSD. As Ronald tried to adjust to normal life back home, he found himself unable to leave his apartment for days at a time. He would be frightened by loud noises, and he would even go as far as purposely avoiding human interaction. I mean, to the point where he would only go out for food and supplies at night when there was far less people in the stores and far less people around. Eventually, however, after a lot of hard work, a lot of therapy and physical exercise, Ronald Sanchez Jr., well, he began to recover. And one activity in particular that began to bring him a lot of joy